Owari Mensah, former Deputy Executive Director, Kweku Ohinijan, former Deputy Executive Director for Operations, Abraham Bismarck-Gezi, former Internal Auditor, Kweku Dechi Eje, an Accounts Officer, Idrusu Ibn Abubakar, former Head of Accounts, Stephen Kobina Jemfi, who is, we have asked to be arrested because we've discovered some new accounts that, contain some deposits, and so he was picked up this morning. So he is currently also, he's undergoing further interrogation. Koforidua, he's the Koforidua Director, then Prince Agofa Ewuku, a District Director, and Jacob Yorsin, Management Information Systems Administrator in the Northern Region. We will also file charges against the following persons who are vendors on the marketplace on the Central Management System of the NSA in the Eastern, Greater Accra, and Ashanti regions. Isaac Osei Asamani, the owner of Stalwart Option Buy Ventures. Charles Ohomening, the owner of GH Ohek Ventures. Philomena Arthur, the owner of Brainwave Ventures. Rose Hamilton, the owner of Marine Ventures. Kwekuo Pare Agofa, the owner of Franlisa Ventures. Solomon Jamina, the owner of Afarita Ventures. Haruna Mawulaya, the owner of Alfaida Enterprise. Sylvia Ntrewa Opare, the owner of Silsona Ventures. And then Peter Mensah, a legal practitioner and the husband of Gifty Owari Mensah. We have made the decision to enter into non-prosecution agreements with some of the persons who were involved in this criminal enterprise, especially the vendors, and these have agreed to provide compelling testimonies as witnesses for the prosecution. In this regard, we have agreed not to disclose their names or their details at this press briefing as part of the NPA, that is a non-prosecution agreement. Because this is going to inure to the efficiency of the prosecutions that will be mounted. And in every prosecutorial decision making, we have the discretion to take decisions that will inure to the benefit of the Republic. And we have decided in the office, together with the investigators, that some of the marketplace vendors and some other directors and staff who came to us may be serving as prosecution witnesses. Some of them offered to be prosecution witnesses, and we rejected their offers. They came, met with my deputy, we evaluated the evidence and thought that it will be inimical to the entire prosecutorial enterprise if we accepted their offers to serve as prosecution witness. So given the numbers that we're offering to serve as witnesses, it can tell you where we are headed with this investigation. And when the trial starts, with this prosecution, when the trial starts, you'll get to know the evidence that we have meticulously gathered from February, when I took over the oral report and handed them over to NIB, to the present. Having provided this factual background, our position is clear that these persons are reasonably suspected to have committed crimes and shall be charged accordingly with the following crimes: stealing, contrary to Section 1241 of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29. Conspiracy to steal, contrary to Sections 23(1) and 124(1) of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. Willfully causing financial loss to the state, contrary to Section 179A(3)(a) of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. Using public office for profit, contrary to Section 179(c)(a) of the Criminal and Other Offences Act. Obtaining public property by false statements, contrary to Section 5 of the Public Property Protection Decree 1977, SMCD 140. Money laundering, contrary to Section 1, subsection 2C of the Anti-Money Laundering Act 2020, Act 1044.
Hello, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages on the Metro Television. Here on Inside Pages, we look straight into the pages of the newspapers. We bring you what we believe are the most topical issues for the week, the issues that are making rounds. We put all of that together. We assemble a team of experts, a team of Ghanaians who have very, very interesting thoughts and interesting perspectives to share on this matter, on the issues that we intend to raise, and then we try to look at what the way forward is. My name is Audu Moro, and it's a pleasure coming your way. So yes, as you all are aware, we're still uncovering and continue to uncover some of the wrongdoings which happened under the past administration, because the accountability train is on the move and it is catching persons who allegedly either may have stolen our money or misappropriated them. So yesterday, the Attorney General, Ghana's Attorney General, held a news conference and revealed what he terms as an expansive criminal enterprise involving top-level officials of the National Service Scheme who allegedly orchestrated a payroll fraud operation across the country. Yes, it happened. Now, the nationwide criminal enterprise, according to Attorney General's office, says it has uncovered evidence suggesting that senior administrators, including district directors, payroll officers, and the NSS CEO, collaborated over several years to inflate the NSS payroll with fake names and fake ghost names. Yes, I know you say, hey, yes, true, fact. Investigators identified 81,855 ghost names used to siphon state resources. I mean, these ghosts must be filthy rich, except that I don't know them. I can't see them because they are ghosts, but they are rich, filthy rich. Now, the scheme allegedly resulted in the diversion of approximately 548 million cedis from public coffers. The funds were intended for newly enrolled service personnel, and these funds were rerouted into the pockets of officials and accomplices. We ask, what do we need to do? What do we need to do going forward? And also, how do we stop this from happening again going forward? We look into that vexed issue. And also, reactions have been mixed concerning the government's decision to slap 1 cedi on a liter of fuel, more specifically, a liter of petrol. Government says the energy sector has been riddled with a humongous debt. Yadeka, lots of money. And the only way to do this is to get you and I to pay just a little. So the majority leader said, small 1 cedi, just 1 cedi on a liter of fuel, so that we can save Ghana's energy sector from imminent collapse. The crisis there is looming. But the minority or the NPP will have none of that, because they're saying that no, they suspect that government is losing revenue as a result of the appreciation of the cedi, which is hurting government's revenue in terms of the revenues that we expect when we sell our commodities abroad. And so it is that shortfall that government intends to make up for. And that is why government is asking all of us to pay 1 cedi per liter of fuel. And the minority continues to say for them, this is e-levy Pro Max. They say this is Dumso levy. They say Medofo Adadame. That's according to the New Patriotic Party. Is that the case? We will interrogate that here on Inside Pages. Please stay with us.
Wabedum tamaso. Hey, Jay. Watch it, na learning. Missy, watch and learn. Mekwaya mabesisia. Abozig. Akache say no ya konate and the more drink woman. Hey. But I didn't mean. Oh, sorry. She knew her old days. Hey, Dabio, baby wom. Ready? Hey, baby wom. Ah, Aji! I'll cause some discomfort. Ah! Sorry, well, uncle, where would the dad? Why your funeral? At your phone for Aerofield Trading. Sorry, it killed them all.
No mum share nanda danya was mosquito call esudu womunum. Na say spray with them musa. Chaisima edronum ansana ko dynamo.
And Kratoi FDA Ajatum.
Buy affordable service plots and lands from estate masters. Currently selling our Nest Cottage, located at the newly proposed Airport City, with a starting price of 25,000 Ghana cedis. We also have Palm Hills, located at Panfukuro in the Bomwa East District, also with a starting price of 15,000 Ghana cedis. Available also is Coastal Park.
In an attempt to normalize the hypocrisy and betrayal of trust, the NDC has recruited its mouthpieces to attempt to deceive Ghanaians that it is only a 1 Ghana cedi sacrifice and all must go along. And so-called neutral who does the NDC's bidding in this scam should be ashamed of himself or herself. You are part of the problem. The NDC hypocrisy has now been exposed by the fact that in their bid to justify what they knew they will do, they have now come up with confusing explanations as to why this levy is needed and inevitable. His Excellency President Mahama on May 13, 2025, at African CEO Summit in Abidjan, this is what he said, and I quote, "We are using the proceeds from the energy sector levy to pay down the arrears," unquote. Honorable John Jinapo, the energy minister, also on June 4th, 2025, this is what also he said on Joy FM, City FM, and Joy News, I quote, "This levy is not intended to pay off legacy debt. The liquid fuels we currently purchase are not part of the tariff structure. We require over $1 billion this year, $1 billion this year alone to procure liquid fuels." So, which is which? Is this levy to pay debt or to buy fuel? The NDC has forgotten that they had announced earlier that they will finish the payment of the energy sector debt by December 2026. His Excellency President Mahama at the summit in Abidjan also said, announcing at the conference that he will clear the energy sector debt by December 2026. At the time this was announced, they had not told the people of Ghana that they were going to introduce a levy to attempt to do this, assuming this levy is for debt payment. So is it that they had planned this levy all along and lied that they won't impose a levy? Or didn't have a clue but were just promising?
The minority believes strongly that if this government is minded to pay off the energy sector debt, because you recall that part of their justification is that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. In fact, the president said he will pay it off by December 2026. And we have just done the maths for you, that if you look at what is going to accrue in the 2 years, it cannot pay off the energy sector debt. But let us assume that they are being honest with that they want to pay off the energy sector debt. We think that what the government should do is to conclude the renegotiations of the of the power purchase agreements which were started by the previous administration, and to pass on two things: the fuel and capacity charges into the PPAs. Government should include these in the tariff calculations to eliminate the need for off-book debts that are caused by the take-or-pay clauses in the energy sector contracts that were signed between 2013 and 2016. And you will recall that that is one of the major challenges that has created the stock of energy sector debt. The capacity charges and the take-or-pay charges, which could not be included in the tariffs. And so every now and then, a bill is sent to the finance ministry to pay, and that bill is accumulating. If the government is really intended to pay, one of the things it should do is to complete the renegotiation, move the fuel purchases and the excess capacity charges into the PPAs, so that when people consume a certain realistic amount, then they will pay. Number two, government should quicken the efforts to bring efficiency into the operations of GRIDCO and ECG to reduce transmission, distribution, and other technical losses. You have followed the arguments that part of the problem is the losses occasioned during transmission and distribution and collection. If government really means well, that is one of the areas to focus attention and front load. Number three, we're asking government to pursue the strategy that we proposed in 2024 to go heavily into renewable energy, as advertised, for example, in our manifesto, to reduce the need for fuel importation and its consequent negative impacts on the economy. And you will recall that prior to 2024, in the elections, we signaled that if the NPP was in power today, we will focus heavily on augmenting with solar power, so that this whole thing of buying HFO and fuel for the power plants will be reduced. And
all right, you're live on Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Audu Moro, and this morning we have two very important issues to look at. We've talked about the expansive network, criminal network, which was conceived and executed by some officials of the National Service Scheme, where more than 8,000 persons who apparently are ghosts, who were used to siphon close to 548 million cedis from the coffers of Ghana. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice yesterday held a news conference where he says that 22 accused persons will be charged and will be prosecuted for their involvement in this criminal scheme. And according to Ayene, the accused persons include 12 staff and former staff of the National Service Secretariat, as well as 10 vendors of the Secretariat who, through a corrupt scheme, allegedly stole over 548 million from the state. Now, the persons we're talking about, we've put it up on your screens, as you can see. The suspects who worked as directors and staff of NSA who are to be charged. There's Mustafa Yusuf, who is a former executive director. And then Osei Sibi Entry was a former director general. And then there's Gifty Owari Mensah, who is a former deputy executive director. There's Kweku Ohene Jan, a former deputy executive director for operations. Abraham Bismarck Gazy, head of deployment. Eric Nyako, former head of accounts. Albert Oting Owusu is Albert Oting Owusu, former internal auditor. Kweku Dechi Ej, an accounts officer. Idrisu Ibn Abu Bakar, former head of accounts. Stephen Kwabena Jemfi, Koforidua Municipal Director. Prince Agbofo Awuku, who is a district director. And then there's also Jacob Yorsing, who is a Management Information Systems Administrator in the Northern Regional Office. So there's 12 of them. We have about, so these are the 12 suspects we're talking about, who will soon be charged and prosecuted for stealing, for theft, according to the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Akuritinga Ayeni. Now, we'll find out from our guests who have joined us what they make of this and some other issues that we intend to look at. We talked about the 1 cedi on a liter of fuel, which a liter of petrol, which the minority have described as a doomsaw levy. They're having none of that. They intend to demonstrate and to protest against government decision to slap or to charge every Ghanaian 1 cedi, or, well, every fuel buying Ghanaian or petrol buying Ghanaian 1 cedi per liter. And they are kicking against this strongly. We'll look at that matter as well on the show on Inside Pages. Now, joining me to look at the vexed issues, the issues that I've just talked about, are the Honorable, or let me say, Atta Issa, who is the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Sangmerogu constituency. He's joined us. Good morning, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for it. He's also a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament. Thank you very much for your time. Benjamin Issa will be joining us. He's the Executive Director, a Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. That's SEMC or SEMS. Yep. And then there's Theophilos Donko, who is a private legal practitioner. We'll also soon be joined by a member of the MPP's communications team. That's the NS Saturday, who will be joining us shortly. But let me now start with Atta Issa. Obviously, he's a member of the party in government. He's a member of the Finance Committee. One of the responsibilities is also to make sure that they check the finances of this company. If you want to look at Ghana as a corporate organization, or you're looking at corporate Ghana. And of course, we know that the Public Accounts Committee has a more specific mandate of making sure that they check the use of public funds and to make sure that the sanctioned persons who misuse public funds in whichever way or form or shape or form. So let me start with Atta Issa. But I think I've said good morning to you already, haven't I? Yes, I think I've done that. Yes, thank you very much for joining us. So I'll start with you, Atta Issa. Now, I'm sure you were already in the know that the Attorney General was going to make these revelations. And, first of all, what are your initial thoughts when you came across this information about this criminal scheme which had been hatched by some persons who worked at the National Service Authority? Yeah. What are your initial thoughts?
Okay, so let me say good morning to you and to my brother and to everyone watching us from home. Any shape, form, or size of corruption, when you hear it and you are somebody of integrity, you'll be alarmed. So my initial comment will be that I was scandalized, but not surprised, because if you remember, this was first brought to the attention of Ghanaians way back. So we were already aware that there was that enterprise or the criminal scheme that was perpetuated by some officers of NSS, and the Attorney General, through the Oral Committee and the special investigation that was commissioned by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to probe into issue that affects NSS. So some of these issues were already brought to the know. For example, we are aware that there were about 81,855 ghost names that found its way into the beneficiaries of the scheme. Yeah. So for me, this was scandalous because the resources of this country are not abundant. These are scarce resources with many needs. So every effort that is geared towards efficient utilization of our public resources, we are all for it. It doesn't matter which political party it affects. Ghana is Ghana. So when I heard it yesterday, I was scandalized, especially if you remember, we were told that we lose averagely 50 million Ghana cedis a month, but there was no quantum of loss as a result of that criminal enterprise. But yesterday, through the press briefing, we were told that some 548 million Ghana cedis Ghana lost through this scheme. So that means a lot, because if you ask yourself, if you quantify the fiscal impact of these demands that are made by our striking nurses, it's not up to that amount. And yet people lost their lives as a result of that. If you look at the deplorable roles of our rural areas and all those things, and 22 officers of government institution, if proven to be true, siphoning such amount of money is disastrous. So first of all, that's what I would say. Yeah.
Thanks, Professor, for giving us your initial thoughts about this. And I'm sure that, I don't know how Theophilus, you reacted when the Attorney General revealed this rather explosive, information or revelation about what apparently when you and I were asleep and we were going about our duties and we're earning our salaries and paying our taxes and making sure that we're building this country, others were making a lot of money, allegedly. I mean, how was your initial reaction when you heard about it?
I think that I was initially surprised. And the basis of my surprise is that you realize that in 2009, this same sort of scheme was uncovered after there was change of government. At the National Service Secretariat, other people were jailed.
Yeah.
So I was surprised how somebody would be cooking such a scheme. And if you look at the way the National Service is structured, the universities or the tertiary institutions that students qualify to undertake national service, you realize that in the final year, they submit a list of students who are qualified to undertake national service to the National Service Secretariat. So if you are reasonable enough, you will get to know that it is easy to trace. So I'm surprised that somebody will implant ghost name. And the second point is that at a certain point in time, we were told that without Ghana's card, you could not have enrolled into the National Service Scheme, because I have had opportunity to people requesting to undertake national service with my law firm, but we could not take them out because at the time they had no national identification card. So I'm also surprised how somebody could add to the list of students who are qualified. So I think that the value we are mentioning, or the Attorney General is mentioning, is huge. And we must also not look at it in the sense that people have raised issue that why is the Attorney General worrying our ears with news,
with press
conferences and not go to court. He's accountable to us. The money is our money. Because nowadays, when I go buy things from the shop, you realize that the tax I'm paying is huge. If you look at the receipt they issue to us, so it's our money, so you must first account to us. There are instances I believe that we should even know without even going to court. Then we know that this is the kind of system that we have. And I must also say that I want to commend Manasseh and his team and the individuals within the National Service Scheme who even leaked this information.
You mean the Fourth Estate?
The Fourth Estate.
Yes.
They did very well. Yeah. Because they started ringing this bell long ago.
Yeah, since last year.
Last year. There were issues, even some people went to court, and the court granted an injunction from them for not allowing them to publish that investigation, which I find a little bit curious. But I don't know the basis for which the judge granted that injunction. But thank God that we have a new government who have decided to let us all know this scheme. And I must encourage the Attorney General. I must also state that I know the Attorney General very well. I've had a working relationship with him. And when it comes to the law, once he's convinced that this is the law, I have evidence, I have basis, there is nothing you can do to let him back down. He's a man of integrity. I did my pupillage under him. I worked with Ayeni and Feli at the time. So I believe that he will not organize press conference if he has not seen the evidence, if he has not examined it, if he has not weighed it against the law to know that this one will stand the test of the law. He will not come to the public to say that I have A, B, C, D. And people must not see it as a propaganda. And in all this enterprise, I believe that we must not bring politics into it. Once we begin to bring politics into it, it begins to take away the essence of accountability. And I have said that if you are not ready, prepared to be accountable, don't come into public life. Stay in your private life and do your own thing. We care less whatever you do with your private money. But once you come into public space or public service, you are accountable. Even your life is no more private.
Yeah.
Whatever you do. So when public officials are holding previous or present public officers to accountability and they are accounting to us, we must applaud the Attorney General. I believe that if all ministries are all ministers are updating us regularly, I think that when they leave power or when they leave, we will not have some of these things. I think that if the previous ministers had dealt with this issue, wouldn't have been here. So we should be glad the Attorney General is dealing with this issue. So if you ask me my initial reaction, I'm surprised because public servants are not learning that whatever you do, there will be a day of accountability. And there's a saying, an accountant or an account lecturer has been saying that you, the one who is stealing, you, the accountant, you should know that the knowledge that you acquire to be able to steal, the auditor or whoever will investigate you has also gotten that same knowledge. So you'll be able to uncover. And the scheme that people are using, I think that they are not being smart, in my view. Because whoever takes the national service payroll will just have to match it against the list of students the tertiary institutions have provided. The basis for enrolling people into the national scheme is not opaque or vague. It is a list that will be supplied by the universities or the public institutions that qualify to do the national service. So you have a basis for enrolling the people. You cannot just go and enroll people based on political or based on any other things. But people who are presumed to have graduated or about to graduate from those institutions that are submitted to the national service scheme. So then they do not generate the list. The lists are generated by these institutions. So at the end of the day, just running the list that the institutions have provided vis-a-vis the payroll, you'll be able to uncover the list. So it is not, if you ask me, it is not a proper criminal enterprise.
So then it begs the question that at what point are the names added to the list? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because you're saying that it's supposed to be a very simple process. You're done, what I'm saying is that it appears from where we sit. You're done with your tertiary whatever. Now, when you are done, the various institutions or heads of institutions are supposed to be submitting the list of persons who have graduated and are qualified to do their national service to the National Service Secretariat. So if you submit 100,000 lists of these students to the National Service Secretariat, and the National Service Secretariat, to all intents and purposes, if it's 100,000, they're supposed to receive 100,000 personnel. And then the processes will start in terms of who is, the process in terms of, sending their names to, if it's the accountants general or wherever, to start the payments of the national service, allowances every month. My point is that from the time the tertiary institutions, from the point of the tertiary institutions submitting the list to the National Service Secretariat, at what point are the numbers padded? At what point are the numbers added? That is what I'm trying to wrap my mind around. And you do a very, because he's an accountant, you know that. Yeah. How it works. Yes.
And even the Attorney General.
Mm-hmm.
What normally happens is that, look, the total number of students will be submitted to the NSS. At that stage, the institutions will not be able to tell, one, whether that student will proceed to further education. But at that stage, a code has been generated for that index number.
Okay, hold on.
Or that student number.
Hold on. You're saying that when the student...
The qualifying graduates
Yes.
is submitted to National Service Secretariat.
Okay.
At that time, the university cannot tell whether that student will indeed do the national service that year.
Oh,
that's number one.
I get it.
So the stealing doesn't happen at the initial stages of the scheme.
I get it.
Because it is after validation has gone through.
Okay.
That's where they will now know the idle index numbers.
Oh.
That's number one.
Right.
Number two, some too, apart from some proceeding on further education, some too will be posted to institutions and they are not willing to go. Now, if, for example, you were posted to a veterinary school service in Tamale and you say you don't want, and you ask for reposting, when you are reposted, it generates a new code. So that existing code posted to Tamale is still active. So the whole thing is like, that's why it's a criminal managed enterprise. Because you must be able to regularly validate. And that's why the idea of identifying students who were posted to institutions and they are not going to work was through the validation process. So you go to the assembly, your district office, get validated, then the advice is given to Accra before they submit to Controller and Accountant General. So some people use it as an advantage to know which people have been posted and yet they are not showing for work. That number is used then. Yeah.
100,000 people, and I'm using this just for the,
Yes.
for the sake of argument. 100,000 people qualify or graduate
Yes.
from tertiary institutions.
Yes.
Now, when this number is submitted to the National Service Secretariat, nobody should assume that the 100,000 graduates
will all want to do national service.
Because there are three categories of people, or three things are possible. One,
Yes.
there are people who not even do the national service at
At
all.
all.
Right? They are not interested.
They
They
are
may
not
even travel
interested.
outside. They may even travel outside
Exactly.
out of this country. There are also people who are posted, but they won't go.
Exactly.
That's the second category.
Yes.
And then there's a third category of people who are posted. They don't like where they've been posted, and then they will request
For
a transfer.
Exactly.
Now, when they are transferred, the code,
Existing
the
one
existing code
is still there, but a new one is assigned to the person.
So, a criminal can actually use that existing code to process for payment.
For payment.
But isn't there any system that checks
So that's what I'm saying.
to make
that
sure that that active code is actually
it's
not a human being?
disabled.
It's a ghost. It's a
so
ghost
so
code.
that's what I'm saying. These are some of the internal control mechanisms that they should put in place to synergize their records. Because if somebody from Tamale is now transferred to come to Accra, and you don't have any synergy in terms of systems, that will make sure that the person coming from Tamale is the same person now transferred to this. But they don't have that connection in terms of systems.
Whoa.
Then some naturally too will die before even the start of the scheme. And then in indexing, we all know all universities have their unique way of indexing students.
Okay.
So the NSS people too are able to generate fake index numbers.
Whoa.
Yes. So if University of Ghana is, in fact, when I was in the university, our code was 10, 20, 30. And some was 10, 3992. So if I know it runs through this pattern, they are easily able to also create their own index numbers. And if you observe, the last time the Fourth Estate brought their findings, you saw that we had 92-year-old person photograph having completed University for Development Studies, UDS. How was that possible? It means that they studied the university indexing system. They know how it rhymes. They know how the systems are generated. Then they can also now generate their own and create artificial IDs for them. Now, I also want to just buttress what my brother said, that Ghana, in terms of our accountability measures, we haven't learned anything. I remember Mr. Audu, was under President Mahama, the NSS boss that was incarcerated.
Well, his name is
Moro.
not Audu Moro.
Moro, yes.
No, it's not Audu Moro.
But it's Moro.
Yeah, that's my name, so it's not him.
No, no, it's Moro.
Yeah, I forgot the name. Yes.
So So
no, I'll get it.
The expectation was that at least we should have learned from them.
Yes.
And let's get it right. Updating Ghanaians on some of these issues, like my brother said, only contributes to enhancing public trust, building public trust. In fact, one of the reasons why, if you look at the CDD report, year upon year, there is a waning public confidence in state institutions of not delivering on their set objectives. And the reason is that sometimes because they do not get information. If you look at the National Service Act 1980 at 426, the objectives is good. It is important that we must know that it's a tool that is used to redistribute workforce in the country. Ordinarily, that public officers will not want to go to communities
Alhaji
to provide.
Alhassan Imoro.
Moro.
Alhaji Alhassan.
Yes. It is national service always serves as an opportunity for us to redistribute the national workforce, also to train students into the work of world, and then also to provide essential services to deprived communities. However, when we see issues like this coming onto the fold, we lose the complete essence of the national service scheme. And so for me, another critical thing that I was also shocked about was the revelation that, in fact, the proceeds from this thing is also used as collateral to even source for loan from ADB. And that I can verify because I was privileged to be part of a meeting that I saw that. That one, I saw it with my eye. And if the public gets to know this, it entrenches their belief that politicians are not there to serve their interests. So that's why I'm saying that I just wish that, we don't incarcerate the people in the public, because it is still a matter that will be prosecuted in court. So we should give them the opportunity, like you indicated earlier, the right to be innocent until you are proven guilty.
Okay.
But we may generally discuss the issues and consequences of those actions. I would just wish them well, but I also wish that Attorney General will to make sure that we retrieve the needed funds. In fact, I am one of the persons that believe in this plea bargain concept. Oftentimes, 548 million Ghana cedis, if it is proven, what it simply means is that the person can be incarcerated for 5 years, 10 years. His party or her party comes to power, and then they are given a clemency to come out and still enjoy the loot. So the concept of plea bargain is well-intentioned, so that public servants do not get away through just sentencing, but the retrieving the money is also important. At the end of the day, what's the essence of the prosecution? Is to make sure that you bring back the stolen loot. But if the idea is that you can be sentenced for a few years, your party comes to office, then you are given an opportunity to be given a presidential pardon. I don't think that's the way forward for us as a country. And then finally, this issue is part of the broader concept of the oral committee. People were not happy, or we read so many meanings into even the constitutionality of the oral committee. Because at that time, President Mahama had not been sworn in as a president, but he set up that committee with the intention that his prime focus at that time was to set the tone for us to know that he means business in government. And the oral committee, according to the Auditor General, has presented so far about 33 solid cases that there is so much evidence for them to prosecute. So this goes to prove that, indeed, the setting up of those oral committee helped in making sure that we are able to investigate properly. So I wish them well, both parties, those that have been accused and that of the state. Whoever stole Ghana's resources should be accounting to us as a people. And my last word will be that, frankly speaking, I don't believe in political persecution. If there are witches out there that needs to be hunted, they must be hunted.
Okay.
Moro, brief about the scheme.
Yes. Before I come back to you, I need to introduce Ernest Adade. Ernest Adade is joined us. He's a member of the MPP's communications team. Ernest, good to see you. How are you?
I'm fine.
And it's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show.
Thank you.
I hope the family is doing well.
By God's grace, we are fine.
You had, I'll come back to you, don't worry. I needed to just have a bite on this to also weigh in on this before.
He also assured me today that he will let me speak. Last time he didn't let me speak.
I've been here for quite some time, and you see that I was just quiet.
Yeah,
so today you talk plenty.
He would allow you to speak. He's always allowed you to speak, don't worry. Anyway, so Ernest, I'm sure you watched the presser too.
Yeah.
Of course, in terms of the not necessarily the entire information, but we've always known that the Attorney General and the investigative bodies have been working on this national service scheme matter. Except that yesterday, the revelations were quite explosive. I mean, he went a bit more detailed. He gave us a more detailed account of what has been stolen, allegedly, and the persons involved. I mean, how was your initial reaction when you heard it? I mean, I know you're a man of,
thank you.
You believe in accountability.
Yes, thank you so much. I extend my greetings to my brothers and all the viewers around the world. Moro, nobody, and especially somebody like me, would think that such things should go on and, if possible, not go unpunished.
Okay.
I don't think so. Anybody who will think like that has a problem. I believe we don't go into politics or we don't win political power to do the nation so much bad. And we are having this conversation knowing that everything that has been said up until now is still an allegation. If you remember when the first press conference came up and they mentioned the 81,300 and something ghost names and all that, what I said is, let's use the law. The actions that we have taken so far in respect of some of the suspected crimes that have been committed against the state have not helped this country. It had rather sent us back. And I remember very well mentioning that some of the things that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama promised he was going to reset have been reintroduced, and they've been done in Pro Max, way bigger than they were. So I have a problem with that. I believe that we are building a country. I will not go and campaign for the MPP to come to power, to come and run this country aground, destroy what we have built so far, or somebody comes to fill his pocket at the expense of the people of Ghana. We, the MPP, I don't believe I will support that. And I was happy when I heard the Attorney General speaking, and he said he's trying to keep partying out. And you realize that his whole press conference, he didn't let this relate whatever he was saying to political parties, but the people who committed the crime. Where I have heard commentary on various stations where people are saying that people took these monies to finance campaign and all that. And I have said, I was very active within the campaign, and you can bear witness of that. And nobody called me and said, come for money to go and run the campaign. If he took the money, whoever he gave it to, fine. But I'm not saying somebody took money. I am only appreciating the fact that in this instance, the complaint came from the Fourth Estate. Some investigations were carried out, and they've been able to arrive at something. The people were invited, they were cautioned, they were given bail, and where even yesterday the Attorney General mentioned that somebody has been rearrested to go come and assist in further investigation. That is the rule of law. The legal processes are being followed. It's not the masked men jumping on people in their homes and all the drama being created only to be asked whether you do galamsey or not. And that, we all have to speak against that. I believe that is what the country should look like. The country is bleeding. This is the second time we have had national service scheme, such a scandal of this magnitude. Earlier, we had a similar situation and we don't know. Some people they went to court, and I think some actions were taken, and that was it. I believe that it doesn't matter whether the person is MPP, NDC, whatever. If you committed certain levels of crimes, I agree with anybody who will say, bring back the money. So I kept saying that it is not about ORA. ORA has its own deficiencies. It's a human institution anyway, so ORA has deficiencies. So it's not about ORA. The Fourth Estate raised this matter. And when they raised this matter, the estate agency or state agencies became interested. So with or without oral, I believe that people who do this nation evil should be punished. I believe that. I strongly believe that. Because like the Attorney General mentioned something, and I'm still insisting that we are all assuming without admitting that the crime has actually been committed. I don't have access to the kind of information available to him. He is saying it, so we are discussing it in his context. These people will go to court anyway. They will end up in court, and they will have to go and defend themselves. The first time I heard 81,000 plus ghost names, I was like, how? How can that happen? If we have approximately 100,000 people, like you are saying, coming out of the university every year, and assuming that about 10% of them would end up not doing national service, like you said, travel abroad, somebody, he wouldn't like the posting, so he won't go, and all that, all these things happened. How can we have approximately 100,000 coming out of school, and somebody will add 81,000 more unnoticed? So a lot of us questioned the quantum, the numbers that they were talking about. But all things being equal, this has happened. And now let's look at it.
Yeah. Sorry, before you joined us, whilst you were monitoring the conversation, Ataisa was walking all of us through how some of these schemes are hatched, how they are created. What he said is that when the institutions where people graduate from, present or they submit a list of persons who have graduated from these institutions and they send it to the National Service Scheme, the assumption is that, assuming the entire number is 1 million people, let's say 100,000 people, the assumption is that the entire 100,000 people there are going to be doing their national service.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is that there are 3 groups of people that emerge from that 100,000. There are some people who don't do the national service at all, even though the names have been submitted. There are some people who would accept to do the national service, right?
But they
won't even go.
Yeah.
Right? There are also some people who will accept, first of all, or they would say, okay, so when they are told where they are doing the national service, they won't go, but they would ask for a transfer of a different place.
Like, people don't like their posting.
They don't like their posting.
So you
they
go
want a different posting.
a change.
But the thing is, even when the posting is done or the transfer is done, the code which was generated for where they were supposed to be remains. It doesn't change. So if I am somebody who works at a national service person, accountant or director, administrator, whatever, I can use that code to process for payments.
So I was coming there.
Oh, you're coming there. Okay.
I was coming there.
That's fine.
So you realize that the challenges we have had, we have experienced this before.
Absolutely.
That's where I got to.
Absolutely.
So when we were trying to reorganize the national service, we should have taken these things into consideration. All over the world. If you go to the US or you're an American citizen and you have one number, your social security number follows you everywhere. Fortunately for us, we have created a similar program here. And we said we were going to use the Ghana card, the NIA card, to control these things. True. The NIA card, one number takes you everywhere. And I had a problem with a bank I went to recently. I say, with you, my money comes through you. And when I come and I say, I want a transaction, you want to take my Ghana card, run a photocopy. So you are collecting my Ghana card. And the data you are collecting, but you have registered me on your system. It's part of your KYC. Right? So why don't you take my biometrics and my data drops? And recently, if you remember, we were just talking about this thing recently when we heard that they were going to re-register SIM cards and all that. This issue came up again.
Yeah.
Because you have some data. Why do you duplicate the data until the data gets missing and everything gets mumbled up? So it's the same thing. If National Service generates a code for you as a National Service person, or we are using your Ghana card number as a National Service person, how come that you generate multiple ones? So we allowed the system to help the criminal, quote and unquote, perpetrate his crime. Because I don't see why, if I am entering National Service and a number is generated for me and I go to Tamale and I'm coming back to Accra, that number should change. But let me tell you, you won't blame, I won't always also blame the people who design these systems. Because the people who are purported or supposed to be committing these crimes are people who have control. They have access levels that can do things on whatever system you give to them.
True.
Because these names we are hearing, the previous National Service one, we had the director, accountants. These are people who have very high access levels. So they can manipulate the system if they want to. They are supposed to provide the checks and balances. But please, my brother Moro, these schemes, I believe if it is true, more people should be brought on board.
Yeah.
Where has the Auditor General been in this whole thing until the fourth? Why does it have to be the fourth estate unearthing this thing? The numbers we are hearing and not the Auditor General.
So it's for you, so it raises questions about the quality of the work of the Auditor General. Because the Auditor General should have been
I'm not going there. If you are saying
it,
what it
is. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah. So where was the Auditor General in all these things?
Yeah.
And the Auditor General couldn't pick. I was reading the Fourth Estate document that was saying in some cases 226. One name appeared 202. Sorry. One name appeared 226 times. And the Auditor General is, are you telling me the Auditor General didn't pick it up? Or the Auditor General too ended up being part of the scheme? I'm discussing this thing dispassionately and assuming that what the Attorney General is saying has some merit. Now, let me move to the other side of the coin, where just in case whatever the Attorney General is pushing into the public domain now might not be sacrosanct.
Right.
What will happen? So I also am part of the people who are saying that I want to believe before his second press conference, he has ascertained, confirmed. Because yesterday I heard him on certain, okay, maybe he's speaking as a senior lawyer, so he's being careful. But having heard that confirmation that I have concluded my investigations, and these are findings from the investigations for which I'm going to prosecute. Somewhere along the line, he was very close to being very affirmative, but I didn't hear that one decisively.
You mean he didn't sound as definitive?
He didn't sound that definite
as you would have expected.
For me, as I would have wished. Yeah, because after doing this investigation for months, when he is coming back to the public, he was coming, actually he came with names, but he was coming to tell the people of Ghana that we have finished our investigations, we have found out that A, B, C, D are the issues, and we are going to call. Somebody asked, when are prosecutions beginning? He gave some timeline. All I'm saying is that we pray. It is our hope and our prayer that they will follow due process. And I like the way this one is going than the other ones we don't want to talk about.
Being careful about sounding definitive because he's not the law courts. You know, he's only said these are the persons who I intend to prosecute in court. He's given us a list of them. And I want to believe that if he wasn't sure about what he has by way of information or by way of fact, he wouldn't even be putting the names out.
You know, somewhere along the line, that's the premise upon which I'm proceeding.
Yes.
And I'm proceeding carefully.
Yes.
That he somewhere along the line mentioned, he himself, that he will not proceed to court unless he is fully convinced that he can secure a conviction. He mentioned this before in one of his statements.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying, by the time he is meeting us the second time, that is addressing the public the second time, I was expecting some very definite moves. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
All right.
Let's assume that all things are going to be. But with national service and all these youth programs, my appeal to His Excellency the President and whoever has power to do something about these things is that we should make sure it doesn't recur. It happened not too long ago, and it has been repeated, and it is because the system itself was corrupt at the apex, the topmost, was not able to hold it. That is, I still issued that disclaimer. That is assuming what the Attorney General is saying is true. Then the power that should be the check and balance is the power committing the crime. And that we have to do something to check it in the future.
All right. Theophilus, let me get your concluding remarks before we take a break, because we have to take a break and move on to our second topic. So we can do just this in just 3 minutes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I want to talk about the fact of the fact that the number of people who are posted or who are sent, the list that is sent to the national service is not the actual number that gets to do national service. And I'll give you the reasons why.
Okay.
At a certain age, you are not qualified to do national service. But these are graduates, so they don't do the national service. People go on steady leave. When they go on steady leave, they go back to their institutions, so they don't get to do national service. People change from public institution to private institution. When you go to private institution,
you're not captured under NSS.
You are captured under NSS, but you are not paid by public fund.
That's true.
You are paid by the private institution.
But the code will still be generated for you.
The code will still be generated for you. It will be generated for you.
It's automatic.
Yes.
It's your ID, just like your student ID or whatever. And
so whether you do the national service, whether you even die after graduation.
I've worked with them before. Once the schools present the student graduated for the year and input it into the system, it gives you a unique number. And it is the unique number that you now go ahead and report. Now, the difficulty is that when you report, the district is supposed to give national reports that the person has actually reported.
You go and register. That I have arrived.
So that's the period that they will now know actual number of people who are doing it. But the difficulty is that at that time, the generated codes of those who are in the categories you are mentioning, what do you do with it? That is where people take advantage of those numbers. Look, when I was going for my primaries, somebody actually called me and told me that he can get me 3,000 pins, and I'll give to all my branch executives, and I'll
3,000 national service pins. Wow.
And I'll give to all my branch executives. And you see, this whole concept of e-switch payment, I have a problem with it. So what they do is that they give you the pin, you go and do the e-switch in the name of the pin, because the pin will come with a name. So you just go and do the e-switch, then the card is with the person who gives you the distance. So when the money is paid, if you agree, he will take 400 and give you 370.
So multiply by 4.
Yes, every month my branch executive will get 370 Ghana cedis. Won't they vote for me? So the deal was tempting. But what would be the other side when you are caught?
By now your name would have also been there.
So I'm just agreeing to what you are saying. The various categories of people who do not qualify, yet they found their names in the system.
Chief, this is only...
If you also look at it.
Serious.
No,
let's look at
the loopholes are
very
obvious.
The loophole is created by the one to provide the check and balance.
No.
Look, if we generated codes, okay, but if we generated,
let me finish. So, Moro, look at teachers on steady leave.
Yes.
When you go on steady leave and you complete, you go back to GES for posting.
Okay.
You don't go and do national service. All these are people who are not who do not do national service.
Hold on.
When so they didn't register, they won't register.
No, but because their names are from the institution to national service, code is generated for them. So when they are submitting, even
okay, hold on. So they are talking about a trainee,
a teacher
trainee who has graduated from a training school.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what you're referring.
Go back to do a further studies. For instance, go to university or polytechnic.
Yes.
The university does not take out the names as not qualified to do national service.
Okay.
The raw data is sent to national service. So all these things are gaps. Previously, this is how they were doing the scheme. But this time round, they have enhanced the scheme.
Okay.
This time round, it is not the people who have gone back to their mother institution to go back to continue their work. It is not the people who have changed from public to private. It is not the people who the age will not allow them to do national service. It is not the people who have gone for further studies or people who have even decided that I won't do national service because I'm going to continue my father's business. I finished university.
Yes.
So there's a huge gap. That is what previously the people were using. But this time, because of technology, they have imported other people's pictures and duplicated other people's pictures. That is why the names are huge. So you see that under normal circumstances, they could have still done this scheme, benefited without anybody knowing, using the codes alone. But in this particular instance, they have duplicated even the index numbers from the institutions. Every university has a unique code, national index number that identify the students. So if you read what the Fourth Estate did, you realize that when the university ends at a certain point, they will now continue.
They know the pattern and they serialize it.
They will now serialize it.
But lawyer, do you know, even with the system, improved system you are talking about, the system still has a weakness that people can do service 3 years consecutive. Yes.
You know can do the national service.
They will finish national service, they don't have job. They go back and do national service.
And there's no system that would identify you.
I'm telling you on authority.
The system is supposed to identify.
It's supposed to.
You see, the structure works. It's the people. The structure works. Moro, it's a simple structure. You finish school.
Yes.
You are not supposed to automatically do service. It's the law says you finish school, you must do.
Yes.
He has given you the exemptions under the law.
Yes.
After 40 years, you can go and do your work.
Yes.
Those who were teachers and those who went to school, he has given you all those things. So those people will not, if the names are submitted, it is the completion of the form. So those people who even they will not do national service, in some cases, somebody applies, he won't do it. At the end of the day, the system is fed with the data of those who qualify and are ready to do national service. That's why I'm saying this alone should be the first line of check and balance. Line 2 of check and balance is that the codes that are being generated for you, they are unique. So you are supposed to move with your code. You understand? Then somewhere along the line, when this new system kicked in, we insisted on using Ghana card. Ghana card number is unique. We are still generating codes on the national service scheme that are not unique to your Ghana card. So you see, that's why I'm saying the people who are supposed to check the system are the people who are creating the problem. So he is seeing that this code is one, or this code, which system will not be able to flag 200 names with the same code. Even Excel will filter this for you in a second.
And Moro, there's another important.
The person who is doing
there's another important factor that.
So it's a human factor.
It's the human impact, the implementation part.
So the technology is there, but the person who's supposed to be the technology work has deliberately frustrated the technology from working.
For instance, every national service person is attached to a district. It is very decentralized. So you must be at a district. So the district director who have to forward the list of people who have come to register to the regional, then to the national. But when this, because the national already has the codes and other things, when it gets to the national, then they now inflate it.
It's as simple as that.
So that is why you realize that there are some regions and district directors or officers that are mentioned. It means that the district director can inflate it. They are part of the scheme. If it's not part, then it is the national officer that can be held accountable. So you realize that there are a lot of districts, there are a lot of regions, but they are not mentioned because they are not part of the scheme.
Some districts agreed, like Honorable disagreed. If somebody tells you that, oh, you are a district director, they we are putting 5,000 names in your district. Every month you get even 100 CDs. Multiply it by 5,000. Every month it hits.
It's tempting.
That's very tempting.
It's tempting.
Very, very
tempting. Person salary at the district maybe
2,000, 3,000. He's taking 5,000 Ghana. And he has 100 CDs times 5,000.
That's a lot of
the
money.
offer will be tempting for you.
Very tempting.
And look, this is real. We are all in the system and we know
what's happening.
And in fact, some people I even told the Attorney General in Parliament the last time, some people even have the districts. They posted them to the districts. They will never show to work in the district once. But when the money comes, then they go and tip the
takes his
district
allowance and sorts the director out.
So maybe they are doing their own
He takes
thing.
his 700
He will never go there.
Some 100 Ghana.
Yeah, he will never go to do any work.
And that's also big business.
It's also a business.
So
Very
if about 50 people in your district are giving you 100 Ghana cedis every month for doing nothing.
Yes, and all you will do is that your monthly report to Accra, the one you talked about.
Who's supposed to generate that
is
money?
the district manager.
The district manager.
So you just write that these people are in my district and they've been coming to work. When in actual fact, they are not.
Oh God.
So it's the people. We the people of Ghana.
But you see, Moro, the audit system, there's an elaborate audit system, but the people who are involved in the audit have, but that so the way
let's remain in national service.
No, I mean that the national service, the audit system. No, I mean no. What I'm saying is that the audit system within the national service is elaborate, bureaucratic, but still, once they want to commit crime, they want to do whatever they want to do. They have bypassed the system and they are doing all these things. But my concluding remarks are that what the Attorney General have said does not mean that the people are guilty. They've been convicted, and what it is that the law, that's the Constitution, presumes them to be innocent until proven guilty by a court of competent jurisdiction. So we should not look at it that way. But what the Attorney General is just doing is just giving us information and holding himself and the people accountable. He's accounting to us that this is how your money, we believe your money is being used. So we should not condemn the Attorney General.
Chief, you listened to the Attorney General.
I listened to him.
Did he give you the impression? You see, we are Ghanaians.
Yes.
Culture comes into play when these things happen. The moment we heard thief, people pick sticks, they want to beat him. The moment the Attorney General came, and that's the problem I have. In fact, I disagree with the position that he has to brief us. Yeah. He has to tell us they are doing A, B, C, D because people want to know. But the moment you mention names and mention values and things, the Ghanaian, the typical Ghanaian, concludes that Kwame Adade is a thief.
In fact,
and he is guilty.
Yes.
But Moro,
so
Moro, before you
I would have wished that he came.
You see, the way we are handling the issue, the fact is that if you look at other cases that are even before court, journalists and other commentators have taken the witness statement and doing analysis of it. What is the difference between what the AG has done and what the media houses are doing? What they are also trying to, the position they are saying is that our position is to inform. So we are just informing you. So for the fact that the Attorney General has mentioned names, means that he is prepared to go to court. The only issue I have with the list he has put out is that you are putting 22 people before a court, assuming they are all coming with their lawyers. By the time the case is mentioned, the lawyers announce themselves, 1 hour is gone. There's preliminary issue. every lawyer will have a bite. So I will advise that the number be pruned down so that the bigger fish, they deal with them. So that you have a smaller number, you prosecute within a reasonable time and get conviction.
A crime is a crime.
Crime is a crime. But you see, that is why the law gives the Attorney General the discretion to prosecute. You and I can commit a
So
crime.
you should leave me and take you to court.
What I'm saying is
The
that
small fishes.
what I'm saying is that we are asking that we want conviction.
Yes.
We want recovery.
Yes.
So those who are prepared to give us some restitution or go through the plea bargain, once money is stolen, you can't get all because a lot has dissipated. Yes. And if you look at this scheme, there are other beneficiaries which you cannot trace because they get the physical money. So let's find a way to reduce their number so that we can prosecute them within a reasonable time.
Should we rope in should we rope in officials of the audit service?
We can rope them in.
Should we rope in some officials at ADB?
If you want to
this
rope,
thing is.
No, but Moro,
we've got to expand.
Moro, but if you want to rope them,
still call them for witness.
Moro, if you want to rope them in,
Yeah.
once you rope them in, the number becomes huge.
Yes.
The time within to prosecute.
Right.
Look at the Opuni case. 3
It's
accused
almost 8
persons.
years. Yes.
But they were able to hold the fort, try to go through the appeal process.
Okay.
Assuming the 22 people, as I've said, there's one issue. They all appeal to the Court of Appeal, to the Supreme Court,
All
to
right.
Kamba. So what I'm saying is that let's look at the bigger fish and try and settle.
Okay.
And the Attorney General has made it clear that their interest is the recovery of the money, which we all want. Yes. Because we need more money to do a lot of things.
Not the number. Because,
yes,
because
I'm saying that
the bigger fish, the smaller fishes also grow to become big.
That is so. But I'm saying that
this thing has recurred.
We should do more of the recovery of the money.
Moro, this thing has recurred because the first one did not see closure.
Because we should catch this, otherwise it will grow.
This thing has recurred because we didn't bring proper closure to the first.
The first one, we just.
I totally agree.
Let us all know that this country. You see, that's why I say he's leading you into temptation. Because from where I stand, you can have 2-3 organizations that, if we do a forensic on them, maybe there will be a coup tomorrow morning. Yeah, we can. So let's be careful. As for me, if to the last person, if there's anybody that we needed to recoup or take our money or retrieve or recover, whatever we need to do, let us do it. Do it properly. And I agree to the fact that sending somebody to Nsawam will not bring the money back. I can give you examples. One of my bosses is a very good friend of mine. I don't want to mention names here, but he went to Nsawam and came. So what? Go and sit in your village and
30 seconds. 30 seconds. What I want to say is that my advice is that they must have a specialized court. It should not be the normal court that we go to that take adjournment.
But that's why there was talk about the revival of the tribunal.
So that these matters are put before the court like we see in other jurisdictions on daily basis. Witnesses are camped. But if you want to go through the normal process that we go, that you are pushing 1 hour.
No. He's not politically active.
And
you
then
send these people to court
special
on daily basis, and then you will see around this table the conversation.
Let me read a statement by Mustafa Yusuf. You know his name came up.
During
yesterday's press. He's actually issued a statement. You know that. The statement, it says, a statement by Mustafa Yusuf, Member of Parliament for Yagaba Kubori and former Executive Director of National Service Scheme 2017 to 2020.
The press conference of the Attorney General held on 13th June 2025 has come to my attention, and I wish to categorically deny any alleged wrongdoing. That said, it is my fervent belief that once you hold public office, you should at all material times and at whatever cost be ready, willing, and able to account for your stewardship. Therefore, I wish to state that I'm ready, willing, and able to account for my stewardship of the National Service Scheme from February 2017 to January 6, 2021. Consequently, I welcome any opportunity to do so, including but not limited to having my day in court of competent jurisdiction. I therefore urge all well-wishers, friends, family, constituents, members of the New Patriotic Party, and the general public to be calm, knowing very well that I have, through my public life, served with diligence and honesty. Signed, Mustafa Yusuf, former NSS Director. So,
if I may react to that statement.
No, we have to
The
take a
action
break.
is just beginning. You don't react yet. We'll come back.
We'll take a break. So we'll take us a little breather. When we come back, we'll be asking whether there's any justification for government to slap 1 cedi on a litre of fuel, especially when the government said to us in opposition that you don't need to introduce taxes to deal with the problems that we have in this country. You just have to be efficient. So has the government deceived us, as some persons, in fact, as the MPP has accused the government of? Stay with us, please.
Smart, smooth, interactive, and a built-in Android active panel made for modern work and home. For corporate clients and university students, enjoy top-quality 10th generation Toshiba laptops built for performance, power, clarity, and speed, all in one desktop. At Mycom JA Computers, get a laptop for as low as 1,000 Ghana cedis. All products are imported from the USA with a 1-year warranty. Visit Mycom JA Computers today and elevate your tech.
Ama, nansi mi jeno wo bin enko ye kwao. Ama ma ye bohu se kontomra akija.
Nansi me hu se me nyo basi makura. Ama me kunu me into kwankwa. Oh you right. Enye mo ko. Give us JC lecture and the capsules. Aye num boom. En ho asem na mo kana. E boa emma ene meme nyina. Na ma wo ba ye obesima. Na be ma so aye be masima. Ya, we be boa wuku. Ama ne giant sa wo de hye ne botum. Na wanyinya na ne ntisese ne oyi chokwa. GC mixture and a capsule.
A painful abata one more menu for one and Quada when you feel to me.
Brand new on DSTV. When a nominee to the Supreme Court dies, his family begins to suspect foul play.
Dad knew that he was in trouble.
Hollywood's darkest scandals are exposed in this gripping 6-part documentary series.
You have violence, fraud, homicide.
And a rich and powerful family is thrown into turmoil when a young woman claims to be the owner's illegitimate daughter.
You have another daughter.
Stay connected to everything new on your home of entertainment, DSTV.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable printing.
Tucked between the vibrant energy of Accra and the scenic charm of the Kwabena Hills, our gated community offers the perfect blend of tranquility and accessibility. Welcome to Rehoboth Knightsbridge, where nature meets opportunity. Secure your future with fully serviced plots with well-tarred roads, reliable drainage systems, electricity, and water. Build your dream home in a community that cares for your well-being and safety. Indulge in premium amenities that redefine luxury living: a swimming pool, tennis court, basketball court, sauna, and steam in the iconic shopping mall, all within reach. It's more than just a space. It's your sanctuary in the city. Wake up to mountain views, take a jog under palm-lined paths, and experience the perfect balance of city access and natural beauty, starting at just 450,000 cedis with flexible payment plans. Visit www.rehobothpropertiesgh.com or call or WhatsApp 024-476-4499 or 020-495-0810. Rehoboth Properties, quality housing for all.
MGL Logistics and Supply is your trusted partner, providing seamless solutions for all your procurement needs. From sourcing products to managing imports and exports, we ensure smooth and efficient transactions every step of the way. Whether you require goods from across the globe or need assistance in exporting your products to international markets, we got you covered. General trading is at the heart of our expertise. We specialize in a wide range of products, catering to various industries and markets. As a trusted dealership in building materials, we provide high-quality products that meet the demands of our construction projects. Additionally, we act as manufacturers' representatives, connecting producers with distributors. Our expertise in logistics is the backbone of our operations. We plan and execute transportation and delivery of goods, ensuring they reach their destination on time and in optimal condition. MGL Logistics and Supply, guaranteed satisfaction.
Right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages of Metro Television. We've been holding our own little discussions of air, but we don't intend to, reveal what we've been talking about. But I've learned a lot of air. In fact, more than what I've learned on air. This country is a crime scene. Anyway, so here with me is Mr. Ernest Nadade, who is the member of the MPP's communications team. Atta Issa is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the people of Sagnarogo. Sagnarogo. I hope I got that correctly.
Today
yes.
you do all.
Sagnarogo. yes. You've been teaching me for some time now. I have to get it correctly. Theophilos Donko is a private legal practitioner. So I guess we should move on and talk about the 1 cedi per litre of on petrol, as the finance minister announced on behalf of the president. And the government has justified it. We are in a crisis situation. We need money to buy fuel. We also need to clear the energy sector debt, and which is ballooning every second. If I have to speak, it's the ballooning. We need to do something about it. It's a crisis situation. But some have asked, is that the way to go? Because the inefficiency is still there. We haven't dealt with it. So aren't we just fetching water into, into a basket? Isn't that what we're doing? I'll tell you, sir, I'm sure you've been monitoring public discussions, you've been monitoring reactions that have greeted this singular policy by the government. Of course, this is ESLA, enhanced form of ESLA. What do you make of the public reaction? Justified? Is it justified? Do you also think that perhaps people still do not understand why we have to as a country do this, in all necessity, etc.? What do you make of the public reaction so far?
All right. So before I start, let me quickly update our viewers that today's Forex market, Saturday, 9 a.m., at the Forex bureaus, the dollar is now sold at 11.95 Ghana cedis. 11.95.
Okay.
Commercial banks have an interbank rate at 10.72, and then the Bank of Ghana rate is 10.25.
Okay.
That's the good news. Now, coming to...
the cedi is still appreciating?
Yeah, we are still doing well.
Ernest is excited about it.
Yes, so... I'm excited. He should be. No. Calm down. I said...
Oh, God. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You let me not. Okay, so
your microphone, yes.
Okay, so you see, let's start with this context that the export price of fuel as at 7 January 2025, yes. That was, if you look at GOIL, it was trading around 16.26 Ghana cedis. Ghanaians bought fuel in the entire 2024 at an average 15.72 Ghana cedis. We bought fuel even in 2022 at 17 Ghana cedis. I want Ghanaians to start from that basis first, to know that the current ex-pump price of 12.38 Ghana cedis is much improved as compared to what we inherited. That's number one. Number two, too, is that nobody can underestimate the importance of the power sector or the energy sector in any industrial revolution you are trying to pursue as a country. Because of that, the idea of every government is to provide power stability to ensure that commercial and residential users get reliable power supply to do their daily businesses. From this foregoing introduction I'm giving, I'm bringing to the attention of everybody to say that it is not within government, or we don't take pride in burdening Ghanaians from the already excruciating hardship that they suffered over the last 8 years. But the truth must be that we must look at alternatives. Since President Rawlings, there has always been concerns of legacy debt in the energy sector. Every regime will talk about legacy debt. Then in 2015, the energy sector levy was passed with the objective of retiring those legacy debts and also improving revenue collection in the energy sector. The previous administration used the balance sheet of ESLA. In fact, yesterday we were with ECG. Receivables alone on ECG as of 2024, how much they were supposed to collect from Ghanaians, that still sits in their books, is 8 billion Ghana cedis.
That's a lot.
Receivables alone. For just 2024. ESLA proceeds, some were to do street lightening, some went to Gridco for their emergency infrastructure development, some went to ECG and all those, and some to government. They used those receivables from ESLA, or the proceeds from ESLA, to borrow to pay pensioners, the Dachi bonds. Now, the proceeds that you were supposed to use to retire those debts was now mortgaged and collected money for today, and that money was not used for the intended purpose under ESLA.
Government tells at the time that IPPs were on their neck. There was a lot of pressure.
No
They had to
problem.
pay them.
No problem.
Okay.
So I don't have problem.
Okay.
I'm not even questioning that. I'm saying that the NDC government met a total debt owed to IPPs and other commercial producers of power, $3.7 billion. President Akufo-Addo in 2022, through an executive fiat, mandated ECG not to add liquid fuel because we were transitioning mainly from hydro to thermal, so that instead of adding liquid fuel purchases in the energy pricing build-up, President Akufo-Addo, through an executive order, mandated ECG not to include it, that government will find money to buy liquid fuel and power those thermal plants. Because at that time, we were threatened with gas supply from Nigeria. Now, it led to so much debt as a result of purchases of liquid fuel. This year, commitments that were signed by the NPP for 2025 requires government of Ghana, aside the $3.7 billion, to get $1.2 billion to purchase liquid fuel this year. But it is not part of the pricing build-up. We signed onto an IMF program that said we must do quarterly adjustment of tariffs. And you know what it means. In fact, this year we had already increased tariffs by 14.725%. So what it simply means is that adding liquid fuel in the pricing build-up will shoot our amount we pay at the end user. So government is saying that.
I've heard John Jenapo say we shoot a tariff by some 50%.
Exactly. So that is the route you can take. Because the alternative is scary. Doomso. I'm not sure any of us sitting in this table will want us to be plunged back into Doomso again. So the concept, how do we retire this thing? At the last quarterly review of the IMF, you see that they've approved at the board level that the next tranche will be given to Ghana in July. Why? The reason why they were withholding that tranche was because IPPs threatened that if we do not pay them, they'll cut supply. The IMF wrote to the finance ministry telling them that if we do not find ways of retiring these energy sector debt, Government has allocated 20.8 billion Ghana cedis to pay them. But if we do not pay it, the next tranche will not come. And you know what it means? When IMF gives you a bad outlook, S&P just upgraded us to CC+. Now, if we go back to those junk status, we can never return to the capital market. FDIs and all those things, people will not be willing to try. So government needs to take a decision so that we sustain power stability and retire these debts. This levy of 1 Ghana cedi was brought to the Finance Committee. In fact, that was when I got to know that sometimes excessive partisanship is not necessary. We agreed at committee level, but when we came out, both political parties started doing press conferences because we saw the fiscal impact analysis. And we knew if we were trading at 16.62 Ghana cedis, it has dropped up till 12.38 as of today. Even if we add 1 Ghana cedi at this X point price, we will still be doing 13.28. Way better. The windfall of 3 Ghana cedi will still be beneficial to Ghanaians. So, as much as it is discomforting to hear, because people are used to levies and increasing in prices of goods and services. So, any attempt to impose any further levy, there is something we call Laffer curve. There is a level to which you can do any tax regime. When they reach that level, beyond that, there will be resistance of payment. We were subjected to this type of thing over the last decades. So people are no more willing to do that. However, I don't want us to be focused on just the 1 cedi. Aside the 1 cedi, look at the cumulative benefit we are getting from these gains that we are making as a country. A ton of iron rocks has dropped by 700 Ghana cedis. In fact, we just did Salah. Rice is a bag of rice has moved from 680 Ghana cedis now to 470 Ghana cedis. You can call, anybody listening to us can call. It reflects the trade committee last week met GUTA, Importers and Exporters Association and all those things. And we are comforted, and AGI, we are comforted to report that a lot of drops in price of goods and services are currently experienced by Ghanaians. So in order not to muddy the water with politics, we must ask ourselves this critical question: how do we deal with this debt? The NDC might have made issues with saying that e-levy was evil and that why should they burden us? We should be efficient. Yes, I agree. However, the difference is that e-levy was not a consumption tax. This is a consumption tax. And let me provide this education. E-levy, what service was rendered to Ghanaians to collect that tax? It was not a consumption tax. The consumption services was done by the telcos. Government already collects corporate income tax from them. We also collect communication service tax from them. So that service was rendered by the telcos. So that's why we pay them the levy of 1% on the services that they rendered to us. So what service did the government pay? Were we paying those e-levy? But this is a consumption tax, meaning that you must be ready to buy a service before that tax can be imposed on you. That is the difference. Then the good thing is that I am happy, and I'm happy also we are under an IMF program, and any government that is under an IMF program, we try to be fiscal prudent. Under the previous administration, even this morning, we are meeting MIF at the Alisa Hotel to discuss ESLA process, the usage of ESLA process. What we've realized is that if you take the ESLA balance sheet, you realize that a lot of those things were used to pay retired bonds that was not related to energy improvement and legacy debt in the energy sector. Now, this, under the IMF program, the part of the reforms we are doing is that we are creating a single treasury account, like an escrow, where automatically any money that is generated from this levy is channeled directly into the payment of suppliers of the liquid fuel. Right. So finally, I will say that, yes, it may be discomforting to hear, but the good news is that the fiscal impact analysis is good for all of us. Okay. Because as a result of the measures that we have put in place to stabilize our currency, much of those decreases will be seen. Right. And I can assure Ghanaians, by the end of July, fuel will still be sold below 12 Ghana cedis.
Okay. Ernest.
Oh.
As usual,
NDC is will struggle to defend these positions. You can use all the jargons. What we know is that the NDC does not believe that Ghanaians should be taxed in certain ways. And they fought it, they used it, they attacked it, and they came back to do same. He mentioned e-levy. E-levy is 1 cedi on 100 cedis paid. So let me say the initial 1 cedi on 200 cedis paid, because the initial 100 is always free. So for the people who will not send any huge amounts of money, you just pay your 1 cedi and you're fine. The current tax, which is the Dumsor levy, is 1 cedi on every, you say a liter of fuel is what he just quoted and sound.
12.38.
1 cedi on every 12 cedis. 1 cedi on every 12 cedis. It's not draconian, it's not criminal, it's not evil, it's not a murderous tax. How can 1 cedi on 100 cedis be all the jargons they use to describe it? The point I'm making here is that I strongly believe, from my background of accounting and finance, taxes are critical in an economy. Yes, I believe some taxes can go overboard, because I have a position on taxation to the extreme. So if we are taxing people beyond a certain limit, I have always said that it's always like you are stealing the money from the people. Because whatever business I do, whatever money I earn, if I take my taxes and take everything, I should have a savings. But if you are assuming, like he just alluded there to one thing that the NDC is always saying, if you are assuming that the gains that the people of Ghana are going to make because fuel dropped, because dollar came, I can fall back on the savings. And we lost money because as at the time that those challenges were there, the dollar, cost of living, other things went down. So people went into their savings to deplete it. The NDC is saying that the MPP took fuel. It went as high as 17. It went as high as 23, I think somewhere in 2023.
Yeah, you know
23. Diesel went to 20 something. In fact, there was a day I was coming to town. I bought fuel at 17 cedis. When I was coming back, I stopped at the same filling station and it was 23 in the evening.
Yes.
The point I am making is that forced prices at points. So you can imagine the diesel that hit 23 and came, and the MPP didn't say that, oh, the thing went to 23 and we brought it to 14. That's about 11 points, right? We brought it to 14 and therefore it should have been 23. So we from 14 to 12, 2 points. And you say, oh, no. We have made you make gains. So give us 1 cedi out of that. That argument, I hope 5 pesos somewhere to pay for the same thing. Up until now, the other taxes that we have put on the fuel, they are still there. We haven't moved it. And they are to serve the same purpose. Energy sector, recovery, what? This one, that. This one, that. And they are still sitting there. Then you came and said, if we don't increase our fuel by 14 points, there will be, how do you call it? Quarterly adjustments. I will go. Moro, let me tell you. Let me land on this. We, as I sit here now, for like a week.
Okay.
But somebody mentioned the Dumsor levy. You are charging us to sleep in darkness. That is it a good thing to have Dumsor? And now you thought where you thought rather were bad.
Okay.
Wearing masks to attack.
Moro, this is a letter from PRC. This is a letter from PRC.
Can I have my 10 on this?
On 27 February 2024. 2024 first
adjustment can be positive or negative. Why are you landing on the positive and leaving the negative?
2024, President Akufo-Addo suspended the decision from PRC to increase tariffs because of elections.
You, Akufo-Addo, don't bring him in. You said something about you said something that I wrote here. He mentioned power. Let me leave that. Let's not go there. Akufo-Addo, the NDC said, couldn't do well for the people of Ghana. Because the people of Ghana voted for you for the Ghana they want. That's what you told them. Is the Ghana they want that they will sleep in darkness and pay a tax for sleeping in darkness?
All right.
Is that the Ghana they want?
So Ernest Adade is a member of the MPP's communications team. Theophilus Donko is a private legal practitioner. He said to me that as for this one, he is pleading the fifth. He doesn't want to comment on it, and I respect that. Theophilus, I'm grateful that you don't want to comment on this. Ataisa is the Honourable Member of Parliament for the people of Satnarogo constituency. My name is Al Dumoro. Thanks for watching Inside Pages. Bye-bye.
Back in the day, tune in radio from morning, and you don't want to miss out because anybody who comes on is massive.
The same back in the day on Metro C, Mr. BK.